In this lesson we're going to be going over the Trinity College London Grade 2 Group B piece, Triple Decker. Okay, so as this is a Group B piece, there's no backing track, okay? So it's just us, it's a drum solo. So if you look at the sheet music, at the top of the page you've got the song title, and then beneath that to the left hand side it says 12/8 funk. So that's the genre or the style of the piece, so you know you're going to be playing in 12/8 and it's funk. So because it's funk, you want to be tight and precise, really tidy and clean, okay? Beside that, it says a dotted quarter note equals 80. So we're going to be filling a dotted quarter note pulse because we're in compound time, and we're going to be hearing 80 dotted quarter notes per minute, okay? So that's the tempo of the piece. So beneath that, in the first bar of music, so you can see your percussion clef, start of the bar there, just letting you know it's drum notation on the stave. And then beside that, you've got the time signature, which is 12/8. Okay, so 12 at the top tells you there's 12 beats in the bar, and 8 at the bottom tells you each one of those beats is an eighth note. So you're going to be hearing 12 eighth notes in each bar, and each of those eighth notes is a beat, okay? But because obviously we're in 12/8, we can feel that as compound quadruple time. So we're going to be feeling a compound beat, that beat that's split into 3 equal parts. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's beneficial as we play it, but obviously when we talk as well, we're going to be talking about the eighth note beats. Okay, so looking at the first bar, we've got a bar of eighth notes. Okay, so we're just hitting each one of those 12 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that was the 4 compound beats, or the 12 eighth note beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we're going to be hitting all of those beats. And we're going to be playing them on the snare and floor tom in unison, okay? So right hand on floor tom, left hand on snare, just hitting all of those eighth notes, okay? And beneath the bar, you can see we've got MP, which is short for mezzo piano, which means half soft. So we're going to drop this down, and we've got a crescendo through this bar, so we need to get louder. And at the end of the bar, we've got MF, which is short for mezzo forte, which means half loud. So the crescendo goes from mezzo piano to mezzo forte. So it's only one level up, so it's not a huge change in dynamic, but we are gradually getting louder, okay? So we're going to go just one dynamic level through that bar. So let's try that bar first of all. We'll try it 4 times through, just to make sure we're hitting those notes in unison. Okay, so no flams, all in unison, and we're adding in that crescendo as well. Okay, so let's try bar 1 4 times through. And at the end of that bar, we've got a double bar line letting us know there's a musical change. So if you look at the start of the next bar, we've got the letter A in a box there, letting you know it's the start of section A. Okay, so that fill we just played is like an intro fill, taking us into the first section of the song, which is section A, starting at bar 2, okay? So in bar 2, we've got a groove, and we've got eighth notes on the cymbal for our groove. So we've got that eighth note subdivision with the right hand. We've got a crash on the 1, and all the other eighth notes are on the hi-hat, okay? So first of all, what we're going to do is take out that crash just to get the groove down first. So like I said, we're going to play all 12 eighth notes on the hi-hat. So we're going to hit those first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so you get that even subdivision of eighth notes on the hi-hat, and then we've got our normal backbeat on the 4th eighth note beat and the 10th eighth note beat. Okay, so let's put that in. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so if we count the compound beat, which is the dotted quarter note beat, we're going to be hitting that backbeat on the 2 and the 4. So the dotted quarter note beat would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so obviously we can count 2 different ways. So we've got the eighth note beat, and we've also got the compound beat, the dotted quarter note beat. Okay, so that's our hands, and our bass drum rhythm is playing the 1, the first eighth note beat, the 3, the 6, and the 7. Okay, so they're all the eighth note beats. So you hit the 1, 3, 6, and 7. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so if we put that in now with the hands as well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's give that groove a try first of all. We'll try that groove for 8 bars to get a real hang of it at the song tempo. And in the next 2 bars, which are bars 3 and 4 of the piece, we're playing that same groove, okay? The only difference is in those 2 bars is we haven't got that crash on the 1, okay? So we've got that groove for 3 bars, and then we're going into bar 5 now, where we've got the same groove, but only played for half a bar, okay? So we play up to the 6th, 8th note beat. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we stop the groove on that hi-hat and bass drum on the 6th, 8th note beat, and then we've got a 2-beat fill, okay, well, a 2 compound beat fill, okay, which lasts for the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're going to be playing 3 notes on the snare drum, so we've got right, left, right, then we've got another note on the snare drum with a left hand, and then a right, left on the high tom. So you've got right, left, right, left, right, left, so just single strokes, 4 notes on snare, 2 notes on the high tom, evenly spaced 8th notes. So we're coming on the 7, which is the start of the 3rd compound beat. 1, 2. And then we just got a bass drum on the 1st note, okay? So we got that dotted quarter note on the bass drum that plays on the 1st snare of that fill. So we put that bass drum in as well. Okay, so that bass drum at the start of that fill will obviously tag on from that bass drum at the end of the groove. So we've still got that pickup into that 3rd compound beat, okay? So we're playing that same bass drum rhythm that we played in the groove, but the fill obviously starts on that final bass drum. Okay, so let's try that bar. Bar 5 now. We've got half a bar of groove, half a bar of fill. So that was bar 5 of the piece, which was bar 4 of section A. So as we're playing in 4 bar phrases, what we're going to do now is we're going to go from the start of the piece, play the intro fill, and then play the first 4 bars of section A. Okay, so remember we're at mezzo forte in section A, and we've got that crescendo in the first bar from mezzo piano to mezzo forte. Okay, so let's try that. The first 5 bars of the piece. So now on to bar 6, which is the final bar of line 2. So again, we crash in with this groove, and we've got a slightly different groove to what we played in the previous 4 bars. So we've got the same start, we've just got an extra bass drum on the 11th, 8th note beat, okay, which comes in after that final backbeat snare drum. Okay, so we're just going to put that one in. So the last beat will be snare and hi-hat together, bass and hi-hat together, and then just hi-hat on its own. So that final compound beat would be... Okay, so a tricky place to hit, that middle 8th note of the compound beat. Okay, so let's try that whole groove, and again we'll take the crash out first of all just to get the groove down. So again we'll try that bar for 8 bars. And then on to bar 7, which is the first bar of line 3. We're back to our initial groove, okay, where we haven't got that bass drum on the 11th eighth note beat, but this time in this bar we've got an open hi-hat on the very last eighth note, okay, on that 12th eighth note beat. So we're going to open that hi-hat on the 12th, okay, and then it's going to close again on the next downbeat. Okay, so let's just try bar 7. Just obviously we've got the groove down now, but let's try and get used to that open hi-hat on the final eighth note beat. Okay, just opening on that final eighth note beat and then closing on the 1 again. Okay, getting that nice open hi-hat sound. So let's try bar 7, and again we'll try it 8 times through. And on to bar 8, we've got another change up here. So you can see there's a plus sign there on the first eighth note on the hi-hat. So that's letting you know the open hi-hat closes on that note. So we're closing the hi-hat on the 1, and then we've got 3 snares. Okay, so we're going to play single strokes. First note on the hi-hat, and then the other 3 notes on the snare drum. So right hand on hi-hat, left snare, right snare, left snare. So we get those 4 eighth notes in first. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we carry on with our normal hand pattern for the groove, okay? So we'll just carry on playing eighth notes with the right hand, and then we've got our back beat on the 10th eighth note beat, okay, the 10. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so evenly spaced eighth notes there. So once you've got that hand pattern down, we're going to add in the bass drum rhythm, okay? Bass drum rhythm is similar to what we've already played, but slightly different. So you're playing a dotted quarter note on the 1, so we'll add that one in first, so the bass drum on the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next bass drum's on the 6th eighth note beat, so let's add that one in. Then we've got a bass drum on the 7. 1, 2, 3. And the final bass drum is on the 11th eighth note beat after that final snare drum. Okay, so take that one slow. It's a bit tricky first of all, until you get used to that hand rhythm, okay, the hand orchestration. So let's try that bar now at this song tempo. And in the final bar of line 3, which is bar 9 of the piece, we've got a 1 bar fill. So the rhythm for the fill is just straight eighth notes all the way through the bar, so we're hitting all 12 of those eighth note beats. We've got 4 eighth notes on the snare drum, 4 eighth notes on the mid tom, 4 eighth notes on the low tom. So you're just going to play it a single stroke, so right left on the snare, right left on mid tom, right left on low tom. Okay, so keep that evenly spaced eighth note flow. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now because the compound beat is obviously every 3/8 notes, it's overlapping that compound beat, okay? So it doesn't sit in time with the compound beat, which is why it sounds nice, okay? So get that down first of all, get used to the evenly spaced rhythm, and then we're gonna put in the dynamics. So under the bar, we've got a crescendo, okay? So obviously we're at mezzo forte, which is half loud, and then looking at the next bar, at the end of the crescendo, we're up to F, which is short for forte, so we're up to loud. So again, it's only one dynamic level, but just make sure you're increasing that dynamic as you go through that fill, okay? Increase it gradually, because it's only one level from mezzo forte to forte. So let's try bar 9 now, 4 times through with the crescendo. And then again, as we're playing in 4-bar phrases, we're going to try the second 4 bars of section A, which are bars 6, 7, 8 and 9. Okay, so we're crashing in with the groove again. We've got that extra bass drum on the 11th, 8th note, and then we've got the hi-hat open in the next bar. Then we've got that change up coming down off the hi-hat to play more snare drums, and then we've got the 1-bar fill crescendo. Okay, so let's try the second 4 bars of section A, bars 6, 7, 8 and 9. And at the end of bar 9, we've got a double bar line there, letting us know there's a musical change, and that's because we come to the end of section A here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go from the top to the end of section A. So we're going to play our intro fill, where we've got a crescendo from mezzo piano to mezzo forte. We crash into our groove. We've got 4 bars with a 2-beat fill at the end of those 4 bars in section A. Then we come on to another 4 bars of section A where we're grooving again. We've got some nice change ups in the second 4 bars of section A, and we end with that 1-bar fill with a crescendo. Okay, so let's try from the very start of the piece to the end of section A. And now we come on to line 4 of the piece, so we're at bar 10. So you can see the letter B in a box there letting us know it's the start of section B. So we're on a new section, we've got a musical change here. So we've got something quite different to section A. So in this bar, bar 10, we've got 6 8th notes. So you're hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that 6th 8th note is tied to a dotted half note. So we're just going to let that final note ring on the 6 through the rest of the bar. Okay, so you're only going to hit the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let that ring for the rest of the bar. Okay, so we've got a crash on the 1, then we've got a snare drum, another snare drum, high tom, low tom, crash. All as 8th notes, so you're just hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're all played as single strokes. You've got right on crash, left on snare, right on snare, left on high tom, right on low tom, left crash. Okay, so you want to get that orchestration down first, hitting those 6 8th notes, keep it evenly spaced, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you want to get that down first, and then we've got a bass drum on both crashes. Okay, crash on the 1, the first 8th note beat, and a crash on the 6th 8th note beat. So let's try that. So obviously the first crash with the right hand, second crash with the left hand. Okay, both with bass drums. So add in the bass drums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and you need to let that 6 ring for the rest of the bar. Okay, so if we loop it, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so make sure you're letting that tied note ring for the right duration. And then put it in the dynamics, so you can see we've got an F beneath the bar letting us know we're at forte, which means loud. Okay, so we're up to loud, and we've also got accents above both crashes. We need to hit the crashes with more emphasis, more force. They need to really stand out. So we're at forte for the whole bar, and we've got 2 accents in the bar. So now let's try bar 10 4 times through. We'll loop it 4 times just to get used to the rhythm, the orchestration, and the dynamics. And then on to the next bar, bar 11, we've got the same rhythm as bar 10, but it's just a slightly different orchestration. Okay, so obviously in bar 10 we played crash, snare, snare, tom. Now we've just got crash, tom, tom, tom. Okay, so we've got 3 high toms there after the crash, instead of 2 snares and 1 high tom. Okay, so that's the only difference. So you've got crash and bass drum, so crash play with the right hand. Then we got left, right, left on high tom, right on low tom, left crash, obviously with the bass drum again, okay? So this bar nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and same dynamics, all at forte, and we've got 2 accents on the crashes. And again, make sure you let the 6th, 8th note ring for the rest of the bar, okay? So don't cut it short, we need to make sure it rings for that whole rest of the bar, then we're back on the 1, okay? So we'll loop bar 11, again 4 times through. And now we'll try bars 10 and 11 back to back. We'll loop it again to play it 4 times through. So remember at forte, we've got accents on all the crashes, and make sure we're letting that 6th, 8th note ring for the rest of the bar. Okay, don't come in too early in the next bar. Make sure you're hitting that 1 with the crash. Okay, so let's try bars 10 and 11. And now on to the next bar, bar 12, which is the 3rd bar of line 4. So we've got a dotted quarter note on the high tom and snare, okay? So we need to get used to these chords. So we've got a high tom, which is obviously a note head in the 1st space, and then a snare drum, which is a note head in the 2nd space. So they sit right on top of each other. So when we see those 2 notes, we know it's high tom and snare. Okay, we're playing that for a dotted quarter note, which is obviously a whole compound beat, or 3 8th note beats. So we're hitting 1. It's lasting for the 1, 2, 3, 3 dotted 3 8th note beats, and then we move the right hand to the mid tom. Okay, so we're playing another dotted quarter note, mid tom and snare. So again, looking at the chord, we've got that note head there on the 2nd line, which is the mid tom, and then we've got a note head in the 2nd space, which is the snare drum. Now there's not enough room to sit on top of each other like the high tom and snare, so the note heads oppose each other to make room. Okay, so we know when we see that chord, it's the mid tom and snare. So we're playing that on the 4th 8th note beat. So we've got the high tom and snare on the 1, mid tom and snare on the 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we've got the floor tom and snare as an 8th note, okay? So looking at the notes again, so just to get used to that chord, we've got the snare drum in the 2nd space, the note head in the 2nd space, and then we've got the floor tom with the note heads in the 4th space. So they can sit on top of each other. So if the 2 note heads are in spaces, there's enough room for them to sit on top of each other. So these 2 notes sit on top of each other like the high tom and snare, they're just lower on the stave, okay? They're in space 2 and 3. Okay, so that's the snare tom and floor tom together. So we're hitting that as an 8th note on the 7th 8th note beat, and because that's an 8th note, it's only lasting to the next 8th note beat, which is on the 8. Okay, and again, we've got the floor tom and snare, this time as a quarter note. So that's going to last for the 8 and 9. Okay, so we're hitting the 7 and 8 on the snare drum and floor tom. Okay, so let's add those two notes, well, those two chords to the other two we've already played. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the final note we're playing is a flam on the snare drum. Okay, so I'm going to play a left-handed flam. You can play a right if you're more comfortable playing a right. So that with a left flam, the left plays the left playing the primary note, right's playing the grace note. So I'm just going to finish with that flam. Okay, so that's because you've just played a quarter note on the 8, that flam's going to come in on the 10, and it's a dotted quarter note, so it's going to last the rest of the bar on that 10. So you've got high tom and snare on the 1, mid tom and snare on the 4, floor tom and snare on the 7 and 8, and then we've got flam on snare on the 10. So let's try that. Okay, so get used to that first. That rhythm is quite a tricky rhythm. And then beneath the bar it says sub P. Okay, so sub is short for subito, which means like suddenly. So it's suddenly going P, which is short for piano, which is quiet or soft. Okay, so we've been at forte for the previous two bars, and now it's a sudden drop down to piano. Okay, so we want to play this bar nice and soft. So let's try bar 12 now. We'll try it 4 times through. And then in bar 13, we've got another rhythm. So we've got 2 16th notes and 2 8th notes on the floor tom. So you hit the 1, the and of 1, the 2 and the 3. So 1 and 2, 3. So we're going to play that as single strokes, right, left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Same rhythm on the medium tom. Same rhythm on the high tom. And then flam on snare. So for this flam, I'm going to play a right flam. So right plays the primary note, left plays the grace note. Okay, so putting that together, you've got okay, so you're on each drum for a compound beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da 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 da. Okay, beneath the bar you've got another crescendo here. So obviously you're at piano at the start of this bar, so you're going to crescendo up, get louder, and at the next bar you can see we've got MF, short for mezzo forte, which is half loud. Okay, so you're going to go from piano through mezzo piano to mezzo forte. So we've got 2 dynamic levels to raise up through that crescendo. Okay, and we've got an accent above the flam on snare drums, hit that with more emphasis, more force. Okay, so you're building up from piano through to mezzo piano through to mezzo forte. Okay, so let's try that bar now just to get the rhythm down, the orchestration and the dynamics. And now we'll try the previous bar as well. So we're going to try bar 12 and 13. So going from that sub P bar, we were playing that rhythm round the toms, and then we've got that other rhythm as a crescendo coming back round the other way. So in bar 12, you're going this way round the kit, and then in bar 13, you're coming backwards. So we're going from high to low in bar 12, and then we're going from low to high in bar 13. Okay, so let's try bars 12 and 13 back to back 4 times through with the dynamics. And now we'll try that whole line, so line 4 of the piece, which is the first line of section B. Okay, so quite a lot going on in this line in terms of orchestration, rhythm, and dynamics. Okay, so spend some time on this line. It's a tricky one. Okay, so let's try whole of line 4 of the piece. And now on to the next line of the piece, so line 5. So at bar 14, we start with 3 eighth notes. The first 2 eighth notes, we've got a diamond note head on the ride line. Now that diamond note head is letting us know we're playing the bell of the ride. Okay, so we're going to hit with the side of the stick on the bell of the ride there. For the first 2 eighth notes, so we hit the 1, 2 on the ride bell, and then the snare drum with the left hand on the 3rd eighth note. So we got 1, 2, 3. And above those 2 ride bells, we've got accents. We need to hit them with more emphasis, more force. Make sure they stand out, they really stand out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then we've got a dotted quarter note on the crash, okay? Now I've got a right crash here. Now because I'm playing on that ride bell, it's easier to crash here. But if you haven't got that second crash, you can just come over onto your crash here. So right, right, left, crash. Okay, so we've got bass drums on both ride bells as well. So let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, and obviously that dotted quarter note on 4 on the crash cymbal is going to last for the 5 and 6 as well, okay, which is the rest of the first half of the bar. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now if you look at the second half of the bar, it's the same as the first half. So we're just playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and we're at mezzo forte for this bar, so beneath the bar you can see the MF there, letting you know we're at mezzo forte, half loud. So let's try bar 14 now with the dynamics. So we've got those accents on the ride bells, and we've got the general dynamic of mezzo forte for the bar. And then on to the next bar, bar 15. So at the start of bar 15, we've got a dotted half note on the snare drum. So a dotted half note in 12/8 lasts for 6 eighth note beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or 2 compound beats. 1, 2. Okay, now we've got a Z through the stem of that note, that dotted half note. So that means we need to play a dotted half note as a multiple bounce roll or a buzz roll. Okay, so what you want to do first of all is play 16th notes for the duration of a dotted half note, okay? So a dotted half note obviously lasts 6 eighth notes or 2 compound beats. So that's half a bar. So we're going to play 16th notes for half a bar of 12/8. So that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Okay, so get used to that rhythm first. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the rhythm we're going to play, and now we're just going to buzz each stroke. So remember, when we buzz, we press the drumstick into the head to get multiple bounces. You don't want to press too hard because you won't get many bounces. Okay, so you want to find that pressure where we get a nice amount of bounces, where we get a nice buzz sound. Okay, so we want to play a buzz for each stroke in the rhythm. Okay, so just buzz all of them. Okay, so we buzz for a dotted half note, and then we've got a quarter note on the snare drum, which will come in on the 7th eighth note beat. Okay, so we hit the 7, as that's a quarter note, it lasts for the 8 as well. Then we're up to the high tom for an 8th note, where we play the 9. So we've got 7 on the snare, 9 on high tom, and then we come down for a dotted quarter note on the floor tom with the right hand, which will hit the 10. So we've got 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's try that second half of the bar. Okay, so we got half a bar of buzz roll on the snare, then we got snare on the 7, high tom on 9, floor tom on 10. So let's try that bar now 4 times through. And in the next bar, which is bar 16, we're playing exactly what we played in bar 14. Okay, so we've gone through that bar, so we'll come on to the final line of the piece. So the first bar of the final line is bar 17. Now in this bar, we've got the ride bell and bass drum and snare drum, like we played in bars 14 and 16, and we play the rhythm twice through, okay, back to back. So you've got 1, 2, 3, just like we had in bars 14 and 16, and then we play 4, 5, 6 as well. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that we accent those ride bells again, and then for the other half of the bar, we've got snare drum and floor tom in unison for 8th notes. So you hit 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and we've got a bass drum for a dotted quarter note on the 7 and the 10, okay, which is the start of the compound beats. So you've got for the second half of the bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so put them together slowly first. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so get that down first of all. Then we've got to add in the dynamics. So like I said, we've got those accents on the ride bell again, and we've also got crescendo, which starts on the 7 when we start playing bass drum, floor tom and snare drum in unison. Okay, so we crescendo through the rest of the bar, the second half of the bar. Okay, so let's try adding in those dynamics for bar 17, and we'll try it 4 times through. And now what we'll do is we'll try bars 14, 15, 16 and 17. Okay, so those 4 bars, just putting them together. Okay, so let's give that a try now. And above bar 17, you've got those volta brackets or those parentheses with number 1 there. So that's letting you know that's the first ending, okay, that bar, bar 17. So you can see we've got an end repeat sign at the end of bar 17. So we need to go back to the start repeat, which is the start of section B at bar 10. Okay, so we're going to go through now from the start of section B, bar 10, all the way through to the end of the first ending, bar 17. And now onto the final bar of the piece, bar 18. Now we've got an 8th note rest on the 1 here, and then we're playing 8th notes on the high tom and floor tom. Again, it's a chord, 2 notes at the same time. So you need to get used to how these chords look. So we've got a high tom in the top space and a floor tom in the 3rd space down. Okay, so that's how that chord looks on these 2 drums. So we hit that for an 8th note on the 2, then we've got an 8th note on the bass drum on the 3. So we're playing rest, 2, 3. Rest. Then we've got a flam on the snare drum. Okay, I'm going to play a right flam again. So you've got that left grace note, right primary note for the right flam. So we play it for a dotted quarter note, which comes in on the 4. It's going to last a whole compound beat. So the 4, 5, 6. It's going to hit that there. So let's try those first 2 compound beats. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the final 2 compound beats we're playing a similar thing to what we had at the end of the first ending in bar 17. So we've got floor, tom and snare in unison for 8th notes. Okay, then all the way up to the final 8th note, we play those, and then we change the final 8th note to crash and snare. So we just move the right hand from the floor tom to the crash. So again, if you've got that right crash, you can come here because it's close to the floor tom, or if you haven't, you can go across here to play your crash symbol on that, the crash on the left side of the kit. So you've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then on the 12th, that's where you hit the crash. Okay, so let's try those hands now for the second half of that bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, you've got those dotted quarter note bass drums on the 7 and the 10. Okay, so it starts each 3 8th notes. So putting the whole bar together, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so you want to get that down first of all, the bar as it is, and then the dynamics. Obviously we're at mezzo forte anyway, and then we've got a accent on the final note on that crash and snare. So you want that nice loud note to finish with, so put some emphasis on that final note to make it a nice abrupt finish there. Okay, so let's try bar 18 now 4 times through. And now we're going to try bars 14, 15, 16 and 18. Okay, so we're going to skip past bar 17, straight onto bar 18, 14, 15, 16 and 18. Let's try those 4 bars. And above bar 18, we've got those volta brackets, those parentheses, they're open this time, and we've got the number 2 there letting you know it's the second ending. Okay, so we're going to go back to that start repeat at the start of section B at bar 10. We're going to play through section B, we're going to skip past bar 17, the first ending, and go straight to bar 18, the second ending. Okay, so let's try section B with the second ending. So now we've played both endings, we're going to put section B together. So we're going to go from the start of section B. Obviously we've got that start repeat sign at the start of section B. So we play through section B with the first ending. We hit that end repeat sign at the end of the first ending. So we go back to the start repeat sign at section B. And we play through section B again. This time we skip past the first ending and play the second ending. Okay, so let's try the whole of section B now. So the final thing to do is put the whole piece together. Okay, so we come in with our intro fill at bar 1, we're at mezzo piano, we crescendo through that fill to mezzo forte, we crash into the groove at the start of section A, so we hold the groove down, we've got that 2-beat fill on the 4th bar of section A, we crash back into a groove, we've got slight variations of the groove for the rest of section A, and we finish section A with that 1-bar 8th note fill with a crescendo that brings us up to forte into section B. So we got that tricky rhythm at section B where we hit those 6 8th notes. Make sure you hold that tied 8th note at the end of the 6 8th notes for the rest of the bar. Okay, then after those first 2 bars of section B, we drop down to piano suddenly. Okay, so we've got that subito P. We hit that rhythm going round the kit, going from high to low. Then we come back round from low to high with that 16th note, 8th note rhythm. We've got another crescendo rising us from piano back to mezzo forte. We've got the ride bell rhythm and crashes, buzz strokes, round the kit, back to the ride bell. We play the first ending in the bottom line. We go back to the start of section B, we play through again, and then finish with that second ending. Okay, so a lot going on. There's some groove in the first section. There's a lot of different rhythms in the second section. Let's put it all together to play the whole piece. So remember, this is a funk piece, you want to be tight and tidy. So when you're playing the groove in section A, make sure those 8th notes are nice and evenly spaced, and all the rhythms of section B, you're holding the notes for the right duration. Okay, so it's a real test of your rhythm, and obviously there's different movements around the kit. So you've got different rhythms, different orchestrations, lots of dynamics. So it's great practice, this piece, and it's a great sounding piece as well. So enjoy it, and we'll see you in the next lesson.